Hello YouTube, my name is Landon and this is my channel Redhead Takes, and this week we are going over Week 3 NFL matchup picks. Last week I didn't do so well, but hopefully this week will be better. Hopefully you'll watch. If you want to like my content, give it a like, comment, share, and subscribe, and all of that. Let's get into it right away. First game of the week, Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. Not sure how to feel about this game. Both teams didn't look very good last week. Cleveland had moments last week, and they were just destroying the Jets with their run game, but they fell apart in the end, and it was just completely destructing. Browns ended poorly. Should not have lost that game, being up 13 with a minute and a half left. Absolutely disgraceful how they lost, and it's funny that Jimmy Haslam got hit in the head with the bottle. He kind of deserves it because he's a terrible NFL owner. But I think this week I'll go with the Browns just because of the run game, and Pittsburgh's D didn't look the best last week and really hasn't looked that great without TJ Watt in the past. So I'm going to go with the Bills, begrudgingly. And as long as Mitch Trubisky is in there, I don't see them winning many games. Their offensive line is not very good. I see Kenny Pickett potentially starting very soon, but we'll have to wait and see. It'll be close, but Cleveland pulls it out. Next we have Houston versus Chicago. Another game, not sure how to feel. Houston, while they were in it last week, couldn't score or only settle for field goals. I think they'll get better. I still think Davis Mills has potential, and he's shown it in the past. Just haven't been able to get him and Brandon Cooks going. Dameon Pierce is looking better, or looked better last week. Still unsure how much better he'll get. He hasn't lived up to the hype so far. And with Chicago, they undoubtedly have good defensive players or rookies. Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker will be great NFL pros. It'll just be some growing pains. I think the Bears pull this out just because they're playing Houston, and I think Chicago has a little more, at least until I can verifyingly say Houston is getting better and looking more consistent on offense. I think Chicago wins begrudgingly, but I could honestly see Houston winning. I don't think the Bears are very good, and the Packers kind of showed it last week. I think Chicago wins close, but Chicago wins regardless. The running game for Chicago will be key if they want to have any chance of winning. Next, we have Tennessee and Las Vegas, two teams that were a great disappointment to me. I didn't have Tennessee making the playoffs this year, but I for surely would have thought they would have done better than they've been doing now. They have not been looking great. Their offensive line looks kind of terrible. Derrick Henry can't get anything going whatsoever. And Ryan Tannehill is just a shell of his former self without A.J. Brown. Although Treylon Burks looks like he could be the next great wide receiver in the league, just going to take some time. He's getting better. They should throw to him a lot more because he's their best option. He's undoubtedly their best option, a wide receiver. And that defense is not so good. Who would have thought losing Rashaan Evans and Jayon Brown would hurt their defense so much? Not to mention Harold Landry is out for the year. Begrudgingly, I think I'll go with Tennessee. I mean, the Raiders just looked awful at the end last week. They completely collapsed. And I think last week's collapse is a better showing of what they will be this year, honestly. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams, but Derek Carr could not get him the ball last week. And it's kind of upsetting. Las Vegas, I had them potentially making the playoffs this year, but don't think the Chiefs will finish in last place anymore. That was wrong. Tennessee begrudgingly wins, but honestly, I could see it going either way. And next we have Kansas City versus Indianapolis. And Indianapolis, another team that's been completely disappointed this year. I mean, other than that fourth quarter against Houston, they've looked dreadful. Apparently, their offensive line is not what it was last year. And apparently, without wide receivers, without Alec Pierce, or definitely Michael Pittman, Matt Ryan does not look anything like what he used to be a couple years ago. It's really sad to see how much he's declined. I think the Colts will get more offense going this week. I guess depending on if Michael Pittman plays or not. If Pittman doesn't play, it's going to be another rough week. And Jonathan Taylor probably won't do much if that is the case. But if Michael Pittman is out there, Colts probably put up more points because this Kansas City defense is a little suspect. The defense that they showed in week 1 is not the same defense they will show throughout the season, to be honest. And the Chiefs, after an amazing game the first week, Patrick Mahomes looked kind of pedestrian in the second week, more of a game manager. I don't want to say he's just a really good game manager because he's not, but last week it appears he was. If Herbert had not thrown the interception on the goal line and had been taken back for a touchdown, Chargers win that game and the Chiefs are 1-1. So, to be honest, the Chiefs didn't look the greatest last week. Kelsey kind of busted. Juju, I think he had 2 catches for 6 yards. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a surprise this year. They should keep giving him the ball because he looks really good. And I think Kansas City will be able to pull out the win. I just don't want to pick Indianapolis until they can show a more consistent offense week to week. Kansas City in probably a high-scoring game if Michael Pittman plays. But I think Kansas City pulls it out, and Indy starts out 0-2-1, which is not good. That AFC South is really not good this year. And next we have Buffalo versus Miami. Looking to be a great game. 2 high-powered offenses. I don't think Miami will score as much points as they did last week, seeing as how the Bills' defense is just incredible. They've only given up 17 points so far, and they look really dominant. Hopefully Dane Jackson is able to play. I probably hold him out again after that scary neck injury, but Buffalo's defense will be much better than Baltimore's already injured defense. Quarterbacks, it'll be who doesn't throw an interception. That will determine the game. Josh Allen off to a great start, looking to be a big runner for the MVP this year. And I don't see them slowing down to that in any matter. We'll see if Gabe Davis plays this week. I think they were just holding him out last week just for precautionary reasons. It's not the end of the season. Maybe if it was in a playoff race, Gabe Davis plays through that injury, but probably held him out just not to risk further injury. I mean, Buffalo's running game is kind of non-existent. They just throw the ball all the time, and they do it very well. And I see that continuing this week. Miami will probably get some points. They'll probably get a couple passing touchdowns, but it won't be anything like last week. If it is, I'll be shocked. And then maybe Miami will be the key runner for the AFC East this year, but I don't think that'll happen. Miami will need to get their running game going if they want to have any chance to win. I don't think they can just depend on the passing game like Buffalo can. They don't have the horses. They do have great wide receivers, but I think Tua is definitely not as good as Josh Allen, obviously. But Buffalo should win by a touchdown, maybe 2. It'll be close for a while. I think Buffalo pulls it out in the end. But I guess after last week, nothing's set in stone. So honestly, Miami could end up winning. But I'll take Buffalo in this matchup. Next we have Detroit versus Minnesota. Minnesota, after a great week 1, they just looked dreadful last week. Could not get anything going on the ground. Justin Jefferson was kept in check, and Kirk Cousins looked like the old Kirk Cousins that you see on every primetime game. He just doesn't do good on primetime games. I think he'll bounce back this week. Lions definitely are improving and looking like a really good team. I still think we'll need to go further into season to see how they hold up. Aiden Hutchinson is a beast. Probably get a sack or two against that terrible Minnesota offensive line. Hopefully for Minnesota, Dalvin Cook can get going more. I think he will be able to get more rushing yards this week. Justin Jefferson won't be held to just 40 yards like he was last week. Again, I don't think. I mean, if it was in Minnesota or if it was in Detroit, I might pick Detroit, but I think just because it's in Minnesota and they seem to have an overwhelming home advantage because they pump in sound from the field. My cousin was at the game last week, or was at the game against the Packers, and he totally confirmed that Minnesota artificially pumps in sound to make their stadium louder, and it's just kind of cheap and kind of dumb. But yeah, Minnesota wins in a close one, but Detroit could win. Detroit has a lot going for it. I'm not going to diss on the Lions this year. They look great. I don't think they're as good as they seem, but they're definitely on the up and up. Just a great quarterback away from being really something in this league. And now Baltimore versus New England. Baltimore should have a good offense again this week. One of the things New England can actually do is they have a decent defense. So we'll see how Lamar Jackson's able to handle that. I don't know if J.K. Dobbins plays for the Ravens this week, but they really need him back. So far, Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake do not look like great options, and they're just begging for J.K. Dobbins to come back healthy. Because Lamar Jackson is doing everything, and he's proving he's going to get paid this offseason a lot more than he would have been had he signed that contract before the season. And the Ravens are going to pay for it. New England offense, their offense is just so disjointed. I don't know how to feel about them. Damian Harris looks good. He's definitely not doing as bad as people thought he would coming out of the season. Looks better than Ramondre Stevenson, honestly. Mac Jones is improving slowly but surely. I don't know how much his back affected him last week. Although he looked better than week 1, to be honest. Baltimore, I think, gets back on track after that stunning loss last week. But it should probably be close. Maybe, at least early on. I think Baltimore pulls away, but it should be close early on. Next we have Cincinnati versus the Jets. I like Cincinnati to get back on track this week. It really depends. That offensive line will be a key factor, because the Jets have shown that their defense is definitely not as bad as people thought it would be. It's definitely looking improved. The Jets, Joe Flacco looking like his old self again with throwing to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson looks to be like a stud wide receiver. He's just the main target of Joe Flacco as well. Breece Hall getting better. I think he'll eventually take over the majority of the carries from Michael Carter. It didn't appear that way after week 1, but after week 2, he's definitely moving in that direction. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow will have to be better this week. They can't just continue to start so poorly and expect to win the game, just like last week. They made a run at the end, but still too much time, and Dallas was able to run out the clock and win it in the end. I think Cincinnati finally gets on track this week. No disrespect to the Jets. They're definitely looking better, and they have a bright future, but I think Cincinnati is able to get back on track. But honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it goes the other way. Philadelphia versus the Commies. Philadelphia coming off a great week 2. I don't see that changing this week. Should be just as potent on offense as they were last week. Their defense is definitely something to look at. They're looking great. They definitely made Minnesota look not as good as they did week 1. Philadelphia should probably win pretty decently. Washington, Carson Wentz, definitely not the bad quarterback people thought he would be. Definitely has some upside. Although, though, if they want to win, they cannot afford to go down like they did last week. They still lost last week, but They definitely made a run for it in the second half. They got a number of wide receivers. Washington does. They have a lot of weapons, and it's good to see. But I think Philadelphia just has a little bit more, and they're able to win in this NFC East matchup. I think Philly wins by a touchdown or two. But honestly, it could go either way. It's NFC East. Nothing. You can't expect anything. Next, we have New Orleans versus Carolina. Oh boy, the Saints offense is kind of dreadful at times. Hopefully Kamara is able to play this week. That should definitely help their offensive predictability. Jameis Winston, as I said in the beginning, or in my NFC South video, doesn't look great. And the Saints are going to have to sooner or later get a quarterback next year. It's supposed to be loaded at quarterback. They should seriously consider going the Kenny Pickett route, the way Steelers did. Just have their rookie quarterback wait behind Jameis, and then when he's ready, take over. Because Jameis is just, he doesn't look great. I don't know if his back is affecting him, but supposedly it is. They're going to have to get better. Michael Thomas looks great. Hopefully, looking for him to keep improving. And with Carolina, McCaffrey finally had a game over 100 yards, but their offense is just kind of whack. They're going to need to get the ball to DJ Moore. It's surprising that he doesn't get more of the target share, to be honest. If they want to do better, they should keep throwing to DJ Moore. Now, New Orleans has a great defense, so I don't know how much that'll improve this week, but we'll see. McCaffrey's had good games against New Orleans in the past, so we'll just have to wait and see. I think New Orleans pulls this out and gets back on track a little bit. Hopefully Kamara plays so their offense can look a little better, because their defense just did everything last week. Jacksonville versus LA Chargers. Chargers, I think, win big. No disrespect to the Jags. Their defense definitely looks better than we thought it would be. James Robinson is looking great after that Achilles injury at the end of last year. It's really good to see him back. Trevor Lawrence is looking much better, but I think LA just has a little bit more. I think Herbert probably will play, even though he's dealing with that cartilage tear in his ribs. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if Keenan Allen plays. But honestly, if Herbert plays, the Chargers are going to look really strong this week and probably win big. I don't think Jacksonville has much chance to win, although they have beaten the Chargers in the past. But LA wins in the long run. And the LA Rams versus the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals last week was more fool's gold than anything, winning at the end. I think that was just a complete destruction of the Raiders' defense at the end. They completely fell apart. And even though the Cardinals won, I don't think that in the long run they're going to be able to do that week to week. I think the Rams hopefully get back on track. I mean, they did for a while last week, but they almost allowed Atlanta to win that game, and that was really embarrassing. It seems like Kupp is just the main option, of course, but shouldn't try and get more targets to continue to get more targets to Tyler Higbee and Allen Robinson, spread that ball around. Hopefully their their running game will be able to get off the schneid this week. Should be able to. Because Arizona, like I said, Arizona's defense is really not great. They just looked good at the end last week because the Raiders are so bad. But I think the Rams get back on track and go above 500. And should probably be close though. Next we have the Green Bay Packers versus Tampa Bay, and probably the game of the week. I'm going to go with the Packers, begrudgingly. Normally I would pick the Bucs in this scenario, but if Godwin and Jones don't play, I like their chances much more. We already know Mike Evans is out because of him being a punk-ass bitch and not being able to handle Marshawn Lattimore. Green Bay looked better last week at times, although the running game left a little bit to be desired. Montgomery kind of chewed them up. They need to be better this week because Lenny Fournette could definitely do that to their defense for sure. I think their defense will continue to improve. Darnell Savage needs to do better for the Packers. He's the weak link in that secondary. If he wants any chance to have his 5th-year option picked up, he's going to have to improve. But I have my doubts about that. Aaron Rodgers, probably going to have a couple touchdowns in this game. I don't think it's going to be a beatdown by any means, but I think the Packers win by a touchdown. Tom Brady is still Tom Brady, but he looked old early in that game last week. And Saints could have won if they would have allowed Marshawn Lattimore to stay in the game. There's really no reason for him to be kicked out last week. Just Mike Evans. But I think Tampa Bay will be unable to pull it out this week. I guess it all depends on if Godwin or Julio Jones plays, which could happen, but I'm not sure. I don't think Godwin plays, honestly, but Julio might be able to give it a go. Packers have said they want to give A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones both 15 targets, or both 15 carries, and that should be good. If they want to have a chance to win, they'll definitely go with that plan. I think Packers win close, between 3 and 7 points. Probably come down to the end. I think the Packers will just have a little bit more if Godwin or Jones don't play. And next, we have San Francisco versus Denver. I think Denver will hopefully be able to get going on offense because last week left a little bit to be desired. I'm not sure if Jerry Jeudy plays this week or not. His x-rays were negative, but we'll see if he is able to get through the pain. San Francisco losing Trey Lance, totally devastating. Who knows if he'll ever be the same after this. It's such a bad injury. A terrible play call. Stop calling design quarterback runs. That's what got him hurt. It's really unfortunate. I think San Francisco will still be fine. It's Jimmy G. I mean, they almost made it to the Super Bowl last year with Jimmy G. Probably going to be in the running this year. Their offense should be fine. So the rookie running backs will hopefully get more run this week. Jeff Wilson looked fine last week for the most part. Going to need to get more catches and runs to Deebo Samuel. But they look pretty good last week. I mean, the Seattle's awful, but they look pretty good. I think Denver... I think Denver wins, but it depends, honestly, on if their defense is fully stocked. I don't know if any of their injured players will play. I don't know how Surtain is or Justin Simmons is, but I think Denver wins. It should be close, though. Probably come down to the end. And last but not least, we have Dallas versus the Giants. Begrudgingly, I'll pick Dallas. As good or as decent as the Giants have won, they've been able to get 2 wins. I don't think they're as good as they're made out to be. They're definitely improving, but I think in the end they'll be exposed this week. It's just with Dallas, Micah Parsons is just such a beast out there. He literally just changes the defense. That's just such an X factor for this week, and I don't think the Giants' offensive line will be able to hold up. Saquon Barkley didn't look good at all last week. They were able to win, but he was not a factor last week for the most part. Daniel Jones is going to have to play better if the Giants want to win. They may have cut it the first 2 weeks, but won't cut it this week. Cooper Rush definitely is better than we thought they would be. Probably going to keep getting better. I want to say the Giants are going to win, but I don't think so. It honestly could go either way because the NFC East and nothing is set in stone with that terrible division, but I think Dallas is able to win. As long as they keep giving the ball to Tony Pollard, the running game over Zeke, they'll be fine because he's just that much more explosive than Zeke is. I know Zeke's getting paid a lot of money, but he certainly hasn't showed it the past 2 weeks that he's worth that. And I like Dallas, begrudgingly like Dallas to win. So that was my picks for the week. As always, if you just stumbled upon my content, watch the video, give it a like if you like it, subscribe, comment, and all of that jazz. As always, I'll be putting out a Green Bay Packers game review or game preview this week sometime, probably Friday or something. But look forward to that. And as always, have a great day. Go Pack Go, and God bless.